In this video, we'll use GPL's Live Data link to create an Excel dashboard, combining live flow production tracking data with your existing Excel data. This is not meant to be a comprehensive tutorial on Flow PTR or Excel, but rather, a fast-paced guide to what is possible. These concepts can be applied to Smartsheets, Google Sheets, Power BI, or any other program that accepts a live data link from the web. We'll look at exporting a CSV file from Flow production tracking. A downside is that the data isn't live, requiring re-importing for updates. This can be inconvenient, and not everyone may have access or knowledge for exporting and importing it into Excel. Let's start by creating the live data link in Flow production tracking. Go to the page you want to export and choose any additional columns to be exported. Next, go to the More tab, then go to Reports and select Get Live CSV Cache. This will open up in your web browser, and you can see what columns are being exported. Click on Copy so you can paste the link into Excel. If you want in-depth information on creating an Excel dashboard, please check out my online training hub on YouTube. You will find a complete tutorial on how to design your dashboard. Open Excel and navigate to the Data tab. Click on From Web, and paste the URL you just copied. You can use the transform window to make changes, but we'll skip that for now. Rename the sheet to Task Data. In this example, we will focus on our talent rates and client rates to keep it simple. Rename the sheet to Rate. Let's input the rates for both talent and clients, along with an adjustable margin. Now we'll add a sheet for shot status. Go back to Flow and go to Shots. We'll keep all the columns and grab the cache link for shots. Let's use Transform to eliminate the columns we don't want. The Transform feature in Excel provides powerful tools for preparing and organizing data. With Transform, you can clean and structure your data by filtering, sorting, renaming, adding calculated columns, and removing duplicates. It also allows you to split, merge, or adjust data formatting, making it easier to work with. When we're finished, we can click on Close and Load. Let's change the name on the tab to Shot Status and create a table. Let's go to Task Data and make that a table as well. We need to add columns for % of bid, client rate, client bid, artist rate, actual, and over/under. For each new column, let's add a formula to each of these columns to bring in data from the Rates tab. We'll show the formula for each column, but you'll need to refer to Excel documentation for more information on formulas. You can cut and paste these formulas either from the supplied transcript or the demo Excel file. Before we move on, let's change the values in bid days and time log days from minutes to days. We'll start by going to the Data tab on the Excel menu panel and clicking Get Data. Then choose Launch Power Query Editor. You can always go back into the editor to make changes. We will create 2 new custom columns that divide the minutes by 480 to represent days for each. Next, we will rename these columns and delete the original columns as we no longer need them. Let's change the link column name to Shot and move it to the first position. Now let's create a column for Sequence. We'll go back into the Transform editor and select the link column. This is what we just renamed Shot, and we could have done that here as well. Duplicate the column and rename it to Sequence. Next, we will use the Split tool to create a new column and split it apart at the dash. Remove Sequence Point 2 as it's not needed. Save and exit. Let's create a pivot table for the analysis sheet. Go to the menu bar and select Insert, then Pivot Table, and finally from Table. In the pop-up menu, select Existing Worksheet and click on Location. Then select the first cell on the analysis sheet. That will fill in the location for you. The Pivot Table editor will open. Select Bid Days, Time Log Days, Client Bid, Actual, and Over/Under. Then move values from columns to rows. You can then format the values in the table. Next, we'll add some labels for new fields. Add and then format count of scenes, count of shots, % completed, count final, and last date, which is the last delivery date. Here are the formulas for each field. These values will be used in our dashboard. Okay, let's build our dashboard. First, create a sheet called Dash. Then fill cells from A1 to Y9 with a medium blue. Then let's fill A10 to Y44 with a light blue. Add your title into B2 and make it larger. Below this, add shot status and actuals. You can create nice shapes to store your KPIs following the examples in the Excel tutorial. Briefly, to create this, go to the Insert menu and click on Shapes. And pick the square with the rounded top. Rotate it 90 degrees and format the color. Copy the shape and rotate it 180 degrees. Format it white and align it with the first shape. We'll come back to this in a minute. Go to the Analysis sheet. Click on the Values pivot table so the Fields table opens. Right-click on Pipeline step and choose Add as Slicer. Select the slicer and Ctrl-X to cut it, then return to the Dash tab and Ctrl-V to paste it. Next, add a text box to the text box background created earlier. In the text box, type in Analysis B4, which will reference the sum of the days bid from the Values table on the Analysis sheet. Add a second text box below and type Days bid. Following these steps, you can create all the other display values for your dashboard. Here are the values for the rest of the KPIs we're using. Let's create another pivot table to see actuals by sequence. Go to the Insert menu and click on Pivot Table, then select from Table Range. In the pop-up window for Table/Range, type in LA_data and click OK. In the Pivot Table field sidebar, click on Sequence, Client Bid, Actual, and Over/Under. Next, go to the Design menu item and choose a pivot table style. Next, create a slicer for Status to see the results based on project status. Click on the pivot table and go to the pivot table field sidebar. Right-click on Status and choose Add a Slicer. Position it to the left of the table. This should give you a good idea of what is possible when you combine live data from Flow production tracking with data tracked in Excel or a similar program. Using the power of formulas and pivot tables, you can create a dashboard that is as simple or as complex as you want. For more information about GPL software services and our tools for Flow production tracking, contact us at sales@gpltech.com.